What made you choose to, kind of move out from the traditional setup and then choose to be in such a pioneering setup for education?
Education in India, in most part of the schools, is very traditional. So why I moved on to EuroKids and brought in a change and innovation over there is because EuroKids was dedicated to offering children a research-based curriculum. So I want children to, have something which is very innovative.
What made Lighthouse come up with a research team for this? I mean, I don't think any other preschool brand or any other school per se are really focusing on research and development.
So children are evolving. There's no scientific rule to that. And I would say every 3 to 4 years we see a generational shift.
What is the change that has come in the teachers? I will not ask students first, but in the teachers themselves. Have you seen a change?
So the teachers have been trained first so that they could implement it with the children. So I would say the change that has come in me.
India, if we have to see, what is the change you think that we require in our education system?
So the traditional education system was the need of the hour that time. But there is a very common saying that we always use, what brought us here will not bring us there.
Correct.
So now is the time to change because we want we don't want to be a developing country and we want to be a developed country. So we need to bring in that innovation in children and that's where we need to teach them skills apart from rote learning that was learned so many years.
What is the change that teachers find in these students, or is there something that you all have documented or something like that? Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Evolvement Podcast. If you have not subscribed as yet, this is the time. Please do subscribe. This is the podcast for the 21st century. We deal with issues, problems that are unique to this century, and also we meet conscious leaders, people who are not just evolving themselves but are evolving the things around them and transforming lives. Today it's a very interesting topic. We have found that the 21st century has brought about its own unique challenges. While there has been an innovation and multiple choices in the way that we live, but this has also brought about many issues. We are seeing an increase in the amount of mental and emotional challenges that people are facing today. One of the key areas where change has been seen is the replacement of social interaction with our interaction only with our electronic devices. This change has not just affected adults, it has affected adults to a large degree, but the change it has brought about in the mindset of our young children, pre-teens, preschoolers, kindergarteners. You see, everyone is holding a mobile these days. People know how to hold and talk to a laptop before they know how to say mama and papa. This is an extremely worrisome stage in our society. This is something that we're going to address today, of how can education create that change in our children, and we bring up children who are emotionally aware, mentally aware. Today guys, I am very pleased to introduce to you Dr. Anita Madan. Hi Anita.
Hello.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having me here.
Anita has 28 years of experience in the educational setup. She has worked in the traditional setup and also now she is a large part of Lighthouse Learning, which is the backbone behind EuroKids. She has been designing their curriculum for the last, 15 years?
15.
For the preschoolers and the foundation years for the children, right? I think you're best suited for it. What made you choose to, kind of move out from the traditional setup and then choose to be in such a pioneering setup for education?
So, education in India, in most part of the schools, is very traditional. So why I moved on to EuroKids and brought in a change and innovation over there is because EuroKids was dedicated to offering children a research-based curriculum. So I want children to, have something which is very innovative. Like we teach children A to Z in sequence. Now, do they ever use these A to Z in sequence in their life? No. Why do we teach them something which is so outdated? So EuroKids is completely committed to teaching them innovative strategies, and that that reflects in the entire ARD team that we have, so Academic Research and Development team. So we have a huge setup where these teachers and designers design curriculum which is very forward thinking, which teaches the children to be very adaptable, problem solvers. Why teach them something which they will not use in their life?
You know, when you're saying, I'm sorry to butt in, but when you just said something which just resonated with me. So I have been part of the corporate setup, in HR for the last 17, 18 years, and for that much. One thing which I always knew was research and development. I never associated research and development with foundation year learning. That sounds so unique. What made Lighthouse come up with a research team for this? I mean, I don't think any other preschool brand or any other school per se are really focusing on research and development.
So children are evolving. So there's no scientific rule to that, but every 3 to 4 years you will see a different need, different preference, maybe societal influence, maybe cultural influence, maybe technology that has propped in. So children keep changing quite often. And I would say every 3 to 4 years we see a generational shift. So to cope up and to be a leader and to provide children that innovative techniques, we have an entire team who does research. Now this research is the learnings that we have from the global practices that are going around, from the research that Harvard University does, from the research that National Association of Educating Young Children does. So we keep finding out what is new, innovative, what is the best forward thinking practices, and then modify them and implement them and make it local for the children and maybe more relevant for the children.
Can you give me some example? Because I understand that, and I know that Harvard does a lot of research on this, but how are you all translating that into preschoolers? So it's unique. I mean, I would like to know more about this.
So Harvard University did a research called Project Zero, which is like almost 30-40 years old that they are doing research on that. And they have devised some thinking routines. Now these thinking routines are basically tools which can be merged into anything, incorporated into anything, and we have picked up these thinking tools which were relevant for early years and early learners and integrated that into our curriculum. So we've integrated that into something called as a language, math and science, how they are going to use these into the classroom setup and also carry these tools with them for lifelong learning.
If you can give a practical example of this.
So if I have to just talk about one thinking routine that EuroKids does is See, Think, Wonder. So I am engaging the child with the content. So for example, if there is a mobile placed there and I will say, okay, do you see this? What do you see? What then the children will come up with answers on that and then think, what do you think about? Where did it come from? Who invented it? Will it work everywhere? So these are the thoughts that the children will start cropping up with. Then wonder if it worked without electricity, wonder it would work without battery, wonder what all things does this mobile do for us. So what I'm doing is I'm organizing their thoughts, I'm asking them to deeply engage with the content, which here is the mobile, and increase their thoughts. So we are focusing a lot on developing superior thinkers because of these tools. So these are the tools that we give them, and these tools are not only going to be used in the classroom, they are also going to be used in the life outside. So when they interact with people in the society, when they move out, when they are going to be starting their own families, these things are going to be really, really helpful to them.
Is there something that parents can also do at home? Do you all also recommend something to parents?
So we have a Home Buddy app where we have content for the parents to connect with their children. Like we have life skills over there, which we tell the parents to do and engage with their children. So that also kind of gives a guidance to the parents on what thought processes they should develop when the children are with them.
Wow.
Because children are with us for like 3 to 4, 5 hours in a day, but they spend the rest 20 hours with their parents. So teaching this to the parents is also very, very important, that how do we mold our children at that foundational year.
No, it's extremely important because, with so much of television, with so much, and now not less television, more of your mobiles and your tablets, people children are so involved in that. And I have seen at a personal level, when I I'm on YouTube or I'm scrolling, the concentration level actually goes down. Our attention span gets, decreased. And this for children is very, very, I think it's harming them because we can still recover from that. I don't think children can recover so easily.
So these children are born into the world of technology.
They are.
Shying away from that is not going to help. So what we at EuroKids have done is we have developed an app and we are giving an interactive knowledge-based educational games on that, or audiovisual aids that will increase their knowledge at one go, also interactive so that their concentration level goes up. So while they are having fun, while we are assessing what they know and what they don't know, their knowledge level is going up, and it is interaction, so concentration level also goes up.
Is there some app or something where parents can also interact with the child on that, or something like they can show them? Because I remember I had another guest on my podcast, Ketki Seth. She was also involved in the early learning phases, and she had mentioned that instead of just giving your child a mobile, I would advise you to, start going on the mobile together. Don't just look at a mobile as a babysitting device.
Yes.
You've outsourced your babysitting to the mobile, but instead make it an interactive forum where, both of you all can look and engage. So is there something like that?
We do have a lot of audio-visual aids where the parents can sit along. We have Fun Zone. We have picture talks, which are very interactive. So they have to listen and then have to reply back. We also have voice recording where they are recording their answers, which is going to the parent and the teacher. So a lot of interaction in the mobile, which is knowledge-based, happens there. We have an educator section, we have a parent section, and we have a learner section. So we cater to all three of them so that even they get guidance in terms of how to use the app for the children.
Okay, so even educator section. So how does that work?
So educators also need a lot of training. So one section is used for training the educators. The second is used where the children's feedback goes to them. So if I have played on a Fun Zone or a picture talk and I have answered something wrong, where is my weakness? So that helps to also then the teacher to work on activities that can work on his weakness. Also, we give a daily report to the teacher and the parent. Okay, your child has, consumed 20 minutes of screen time, and in these 20 minutes, these are the skills that were developed. These are the concepts which are very clear to him. These are the concepts where the child is weak. So also the AI helps us to give him more of those concepts where he is weak, so that the child can get more practice on that. So yes, it's a very, very well structured, activities that we have put in over there for the children, so that we can increase their strengths there.
So you're actually using AI now?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Started using AI.
Yeah. So how long ago have we all started using this?
I think the first year itself we started using it. First few initial months where we were not very happy with it and we felt the answers are coming in wrong. And slowly we got used to it. We got used to giving the right prompts and we've started using it in our system.
That's lovely. Yeah. We need to start using AI creatively and effectively, amazing. Okay, when you mentioned teachers, all right, so I know for a fact that EuroKids has, I think, 1600 centers and growing.
Yes.
And y'all also, I was going through your website, I love y'all have an eduprenarial, kind of a program where y'all actually train people, and then anywhere as an investment or something, and they can come in they can open a center for EuroKids. How do you ensure the quality? Okay, now this is something, because see, I worked in a youth center, I worked in a bank, I worked in a broking company, and the quality of people, every branch, once they are away from the HO, that interaction goes down. How do you ensure the quality? Because this is very, very sensitive, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So how can you ensure the quality across all your centers?
So we did have this kind of a discussion at the head office as well, because it's easier for a McDonald's to give standardization and a Starbucks to give standardization, but here this is so much people driven. It's not item driven, it's people driven. So we have a setup which has about 6,000 odd teachers, and we have about 35-40 odd academic coordinators who come down to the head office for trainings. And these trainings that have been given by the head office, then they go and implement them on the teachers. So we have rigorous training sessions that happen. Apart from the training, we have feedback sessions, audit sessions for the teachers, and also we have something called as a EuroVarsity, where the teacher training program happens. So we also expect our teachers to go and enroll there, learn for themselves, because learning is the only thing that is going to remain there for us. So we are also constantly learning. We want our teachers also to constantly learn. So EuroVarsity as a platform has been developed for them so that they can learn while they are on go in the classroom. Also a lot of trainings. Trainings is something that really helps.
Is there some level which they can aspire to? Like this is level 1, level 2?
So in terms of training, there is no level. But yes, if we see the teacher is putting in a lot of effort and then we give her more responsibility, like she'll become a coordinator of that school, she'll become a counselor of that school. So we do give promotions to the teachers when they are performing themselves well with the kind of trainings that we give, and we do give them a scope to grow. So it's like the growth which happens in the classroom as well as personal growth. Because when I say we use these innovative strategies for children to develop, these strategies are used by the adult as well. So my team uses it, the corporate office, the entire team uses it, the teachers use it. Like these tools have been introduced to everybody at the corporate office, so that they also start using it in their personal life. So it's not only school related, it is life related, it is success for life. So when we introduced our mindful curriculum for children, that was the version 7 in 2018-19, we had our entire office being trained on mindfulness. So how can they become more mindful? So that apart from the corporate office employees, it was also taken to the teachers in the school. So it was that if you become mindful, you can teach mindfulness.
Obviously.
So how consciously do you eat your food, or mindfully you eat your food? How do you wait before you respond to a question? How do you become okay when plan A doesn't work and you have to take the plan B? So these are things that we've taught, these skills we've taught to everybody who's associated with, I would not say only EuroKids, but the entire Lighthouse Learning platform. So we are touching a lot of children, teachers, adults, parents, employees with the new innovation that we do for our children.
When you teach mindfulness, now this is such a need of the hour. We are so associated with so much noise around us. I think, there's so much content being shown and we are always in a state of flux, I would say. Mindfulness is where you kind of associate with certain things and try to be more focused within. What is the change that has come in the teachers? I will not ask students first, but in the teachers themselves, have you seen a change?
So the teachers have been trained first so that they could implement it with the children. So I would say the change that has come in me. So I would never eat mindfully. I would do multiple things, think of multiple things in my mind. I have to complete this, I have to do this, I have to do that. I have started taking that as be in the present, not in the past, not in the future. Sit down and enjoy your meal. See the taste of the food, whether it has enough salt, it has enough spice. Are you enjoying it? What is it that you're liking in the food? So that is one thing that I have really learned from teaching our children about being mindful. The second thing is think before you talk. Take a pause of 10 seconds before you reply to somebody, because you may do an impulsive thing which may not prove to be right at that point of time. So that's one more thing that has changed in me. Also, I've become more flexible. So if you want to do something very much and it's not going to happen, it's okay. It's okay if things don't work out in your way, because being the OCD thing, perfectionist, I wanted things to just move my way. And with this mindful thing, I was like, okay, this is my plan and it's God's plan, so it works. It's accepting things the way they come, and that's what is also being given to our children. So my children in the school also have become very mindful, and we have also started telling them to think, don't get angry, take a deep breath, and children have started using that as strategies in the classroom. A very simple thing like taking turns. All of us want to rush and go there to the swing first, but here they will wait back back in the line and say, I will wait for my turn, is something that these children have learned at this age. And if they've learned this kind of patience and this kind of knowledge that they have developed now, I'm sure when they grow up, they will learn to be better human beings.
I can actually, this is something weird, I can actually see a reversal of the hierarchy of learning. From parents teaching children, I now see our conscious leader children are actually going to be educating their parents.
So I'll give you an example of this, how our children are educating parents. We did be safe as a subject. We did sustainable development goals, which is also associated with the UN that we are doing, and ours was the first early years setup where we started doing the SDGs. We had something like wearing a seatbelt on the road.
Okay.
So our children used to get into the car, and if the parent didn't wear the seatbelt, they used to nudge them. My teachers told us wear a seatbelt. The second thing is throwing wrappers outside the car. All of us do.
It's something which I hate. You know,
all of us hate it,
it,
but we want our cars to be more cleaner than our cities. So we end up throwing that, and our children said, you know what, we'll start keeping a small dustbin in the car. We'll collect everything and I'll take it while we go out from the car. So parents have come and told me, you know, they have become so conscious about the environment, about their goals, about, you know, these SDGs goals that we are teaching them, that they are now teaching us why is the electricity on when we are not using it. So yes, to answer the thing, that children have become our new teachers, and that's where we are catching them young by teaching them so that it spreads across everybody whom the children are associated with.
Because it's an important thing, because you know what, they are our future, and the way our current youth are handling problems is, there is a problem. I mean, I think you can definitely agree. I have seen that. Okay, so I am a coach and trainer, you know, and when I get one-on-one with people, I find that there are so many people nowadays, you know, who are right now 27, 28. You ask them to describe their own feelings and they'll somehow get stuck. It's like there is somewhere I feel that they are not so much emotionally aware. I find that, and it's quite worrisome. Like literally, you have to make them aware of certain emotions. Like, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling happy? Or what did this make you feel? Because they are living in a kind of a confusion state, like a cloud over your head, and they're not able to come up with those words. And that's the reason why therapy has increased so much, you know. And I was speaking to you earlier, you know, you mentioned something very nice. You mentioned about this hug button. I would love for you to elaborate on that. I mean, I just love that concept. What made you all come up with something like it, and what is the change you have seen in people?
So emotional awareness has been there in EuroKids for the last, I think, 12-15 years. We have always focused a lot on children being emotionally stable. I'm sure there was a buzzword during the pandemic saying that, you know, we need to work on the social emotional skills, but we've been doing that since a very, very long time, because at EuroKids we believe the emotional quotient is more important than the intellectual quotient. So that's one thing that we've been very clear about. So we do have an entire session on emotional quotient, developing emotional skills in children. So we focus a lot, like you mentioned, that, you know, they don't know how to express themselves, they don't understand their feelings. So we have something called as a self-awareness.
Okay.
Here we are teaching the child to be aware of himself, his unique characteristics, how does he feel, what are the emotions that he is going through, and how does he manage those emotions. So from self-awareness we go to self-management.
Okay.
So if I'm angry, how do I respond at that point of time?
Okay.
So a lot of management of skills are taught to them at that point of time, because this is something which will stay with them very, very long in their life.
Give an example of maybe one particular emotion of how it was expressed.
So children at times feel that it is not okay to be sad, and that's why the depression thing has become so prominent now with children, because being sad, being hurt, being upset is normal, and we teach them how to deal with these feelings.
Correct.
So if somebody's hurt you, you are upset and you're feeling very sad about it, why don't you go and communicate with them? Because that will help you manage your feelings.
Correct.
And if that doesn't help, then involve an adult to help you manage that. So it's very important for the child to feel, first, it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel happy. These are emotions, and these are the 8 different emotions that you have to feel at some point of time in life. And then we teach them to manage them. So for the hug button that you said, when the child comes into the class, classroom, okay? So he comes in a different mood. So maybe he's woken up late, he's upset. Maybe he's seen a fight in the family, he's upset. He's very happy because he's got a gift. So he comes in the classroom with different varied emotions, okay? So suppose if the child has to tap the hug button, means the child is feeling a little uncomfortable today and wants that warmth from the teacher.
Right.
Sometimes the child is so super excited and he just wants to give a high five. So he goes and taps on the high five button. I'm excited today. So the teacher judges the child's feelings right there with the behavior that he enters into the classroom. So the teacher knows that, today this child is feeling a little under the weather and a little under the emotions. Let me behave or give him that importance that he needs.
Right.
So that's how we train our teachers that, start understanding the feelings that the child comes in. So that's where the emotion chart works, where there is a hug, where there is a high five, where there is a handshake, and where there's just a hello or a namaste.
Yeah.
So today I don't want anybody to talk to me, so just a namaste. So we come to know that, okay, today there are boundaries around this child.
I had seen a viral video where I think it was a school in China which had done that, and I'm so happy that we have something in India as well, because this is a very important part. Like, I'll tell you something, it was really weird, something just came to my mind. One of my clients had come to me and he had certain issues and we were kind of solving them. Over the course of the session, it transpired that he has not hugged his mother since he was 14 years old. Now, I found that to be unacceptable because I have a son who's now 27, and every day, or maybe 1 in 2 days or something, I definitely give him a hug. Okay, and in my family, a hug is a big thing. And we also have something called Sukhi Parivar. Okay, this is very funny. We do a group hug. So no matter how many people in the family, all of us are going to come. Like the minute you say, I need a hug, so everyone is going to come and we all have it's like a group hug. And even in my involvement community, we do the group hug. So we call it Sukhi Parivar. So the name was given by my sister. Okay, so
that reminds me of Jadoo Ki Jappi.
Exactly. So we do the Sukhi Parivar. So all of us will come, and interestingly, my nephew, who's now 12, so initially, like when he was 3, 4, he found it very weird, like why is everyone hugging and whatever. But now he's so used to it, he initiates it. Let's do a Sukhi Parivar. That's the way we are. But this person, he said at the age of 14, his father sat him down, and this guy would be around, I think, 60 now. His father sat him down and told him, now you are big, you are a man, your mother is a woman, there should be no more hugging. I found that to be so emotionally damaging, to look at your mother as a woman and say ke nahi, ab se nahi. He has not even hugged his own daughters. I found that, I said, why are you keeping this male-female thing? It's a hug, it's a family, your emotional development. And if you're starting it in schools, again, reverse. Children are going to teach their parents how to hug. That gives me the chills because I've seen the damage that kind of thinking has done to that guy.
I think there is a research on a 60-second hug that gives release of dopamine, and it's so important for the hormonal balance of the person who's receiving a hug. So I think that's the biggest damage that the father did to the child by avoiding that hug.
Yeah.
Because that's something which should have kept him emotionally stable.
Correct.
See, the minute you interact with somebody in life, you come to know the stability of the person. And that happens when his EQ levels are high. See, your conversation with the person with a high EQ level really matters than a high IQ level.
I agree.
So that's why we generally promote a lot of EQ at EuroKids. We've moved a step forward with the EQ. We've gone one step ahead and we've started working on developing spiritual quotient with the children. So this is something which we say, EQ is very important. I've said, okay, EQ is the foundation. Let me take a step ahead and say spiritual development. In one of your podcasts, I saw that Garb Sanskar, which they talk about developing spirituality in the womb. I just thought, why not for the school? And I had a book which I was reading about Pathway to Spirituality, where the author spoke about developing it right from the time the child is born. And that's why we have one entire session at EuroKids which talks about elevate.
Wow.
People say that elevate at this level is not possible. We cannot sit in meditation. I said that's the foundation. Once the foundation is strong, the children do understand that. So we are teaching them to connect with themselves very first,
Yeah.
So connect with self becomes your body, your mind, your breath, and then connect with people outside. I'm teaching them to connect with music. I'm teaching them to connect with nature. So I'm giving them those precious moments to spend with nature, to connect with them, which you and me as adults have forgotten to do it. So I want that to be there in the children right from that age, so that they never forget to do that. Then we move on to compassion. So if you've connected with a friend, how compassionate you can be with the friend, how compassionate with you can be with your own self.
Correct.
And then we move on to, contributing to the society. What is your contribution? You are one part of a bigger picture. So what are you going to do to the society that is really going to help you in terms of becoming a better human being and work towards the community? So ultimately, it's not just me. It is me with my society, with my family, with my surroundings, with the entire world. So we're teaching them to take everything together. So it's not just me. So, when we say emotions, it's only me, myself, my emotions. Then I'm taking them to the emotions of the friends, and I'm taking them to the emotion of the world.
Yeah, beautiful. And spiritual quotient, like, there was this case, recently where an employee committed suicide, and just she joined a company for a few months. And I actually tell people, I said, don't people look at training as one thing. Okay, they say this is professional training, skill-based training, and you have trainers who are leadership trainers, whatever. And then there's another segment that are spiritual guys. So you have those, spiritual gurus and spiritual people talking about it. But there is no one who is actually combining this. So when I came up with my training programs, literally the first few people I approached were like, why? Why do you need to do something like this? And I said, but why not? These same employees, by mindfulness and by incorporating a little bit of spiritual quotient, are actually going to be much better human beings. Leadership starts from within. Their inner leader is going to be so satisfied and so clear that they're going to perform much better. So now people started understanding, and now they call me. So they say, okay, we would like you to, have a workshop, and they give me the problem. But this is something that I had to actually actively explain to people. It doesn't come easy to them. They feel that, pravachan sunna hai, go to a guru.
So a lot of people in today's society are still confused on religion and spirituality. So when we are talking about spirituality, it's not religion.
Right. It's not
religion. So we are not talking about being a particular caste this spirituality is growing yourself from within, finding out yourself from within. So I would urge everybody to understand that spirituality is the need of the hour, and we need to grow from within. We need to see the light within us. So that's Evolvement, yes. And that's where we want our children to start at that young age, so that once they get the idea clear, it's very easy to take them.
Yes.
And it's not just about meditation.
I'll tell you what. And one more thing which I think Ketki had spoken, and she said that, early development, I think she mentioned 60-70% of the development takes place when a child is up to, I think, 6 years.
6 years. So there is a research which talks about 85 to 95% of brain development that happens between 0 to 6 years or 0 to 8 years of the child. Because there's a lot of neuron impact that takes place. So that is the time where you have to give good experiences to the children. So that's why we call it an experiential learning, because that's the experience that the child will carry on for his entire life.
Right.
And that's where at EuroKids we shape those activities, we shape the environment to provide them the experiences which are right and which will stay with them.
Correct.
Because that's the foundation for brain development.
Is there some kind of a write-up that you all have that we can share with our viewers?
Sure. Brain development researches are happening everywhere. If you just type on brain development, importance of early years, you develop about neurons developing, there's lots of research that is happening. I'm so glad even NEP today has acknowledged that maximum brain development happens during 0 to 8, and that's the reason they've done foundational years, which was never there before 2020. So yes, there's a lot of awareness between educationists, academicians, parents, society. NEP
is the
National Education Policy 2020.
Okay.
And we have this policy, I think, after 50 odd years, where they are now focusing on foundation years where maximum brain development happens. I'm so glad we are at least acknowledging that now.
One thing which I remember reading about, our present education, the traditional education system, was actually devised in a way by the Britishers.
Yes.
And it's a continuation of that. And so India always, that's what I have been reading about it now. They say India was always an entrepreneurial driven society. Everyone was doing their own jobs, their own business, and they were trading in some manner or the other. And we were made into employees by the Britishers. So this particular form of education was not to encourage entrepreneurship, but to encourage employment, to be a servant, to
follow
serve,
the rules.
Follow the rules. So that's why it's like rote learning, just learn this, learn that. It's not. So what is the change? Okay, now if we have to see, what is the change you think that we require in our education system? Because you're speaking about NEP.
Yeah. So the traditional education system was the need of the hour that time.
Okay.
It was very structured, very good. It has formed some kind of a base for India. But there is a very common saying that we always use: what brought us here will not bring us there.
Correct.
So now is the time to change, because we want we don't want to be a developing country, and we want to be a developed country. So we need to bring in that innovation in children, and that's where we need to teach them skills apart from rote learning that was learned so many years. Now that education system needs to focus more on developing innovation, problem solvers, adaptability, resilience. All these things have to be in the education system, not rote learning and examination and writing papers, because that's something which is so focused on knowledge. You're vomiting out what you learned in school, but we want children to be application based, application driven. Apply those situations, those learning in the situation that you come in. So a lot of application is something that we need to teach our children, and that's going to be happening, and that will happen only when we change our education system from so much focused on examination driven.
I remember my son's school, when I used to go there for PTAs and stuff like that, for meetings and stuff. And many of the parents there, would actually argue with the teacher regarding the marks. They would say, why has my child lost 2 marks here? Okay. Why has he lost 3 marks here? And they would literally have fights with the teacher regarding marks. And I would look at them, I said, my child is in the 5th standard. Okay, these marks are internal marks, or even if they are like end of the year marks, they're not going to count in life. We have started associating all success with numbers.
Numbers, yes.
I mentioned in my book as well, this number game has actually created this burden in people to achieve those numbers. If you don't achieve a particular number, you're a failure. If you do it, you're a success, and so these numbers are actually causing this confusion in people. So marks is something that I believe that we need to move away from this.
Unfortunately, numbers are still playing the game, because if you see IQ, and I say intellectual quotient, has a score. You can tell the child is below average, above average, and doing very well. But EQ is something which has no score. You cannot judge or assess a person's emotional quotient level, and that's the stability that we want. So I think we should move away from numbers, because IQ is no more important. Knowledge is there. We should have emotional stability. We should have the child having skills that he can apply his knowledge somewhere, because knowledge is there at the click of the button. But how do I apply it?
Right.
Like, for example, I'll give you one incident that happened with me when my child was 6 years old.
Okay.
He was in grade 1, and he had to write a composition on my mother. So the teacher put down 6 sentences on the board, and she said, copy it. My child, being mine, he said, my mother doesn't cook for me. I will not write this sentence. And the teacher got very upset, because she thought the child was arguing back and not listening to her. So she called me for a meeting, and she said, what your child has done, he's arguing back and he's not listening to me. When I'm telling him to copy the sentence, my mother cooks for me, why isn't he copying that? And I asked my child, I said, what happened? What was the entire scene? He's saying, but you don't cook for me. Why should I write something that I don't see you doing? And that's where I felt, the child was was put into a position where he had to follow something which he didn't want to follow.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this traditional method of a mother cooking for the child being taught and grilled into the child when it's not needed?
It's creating a moral dilemma for the child. They are writing something that they don't believe in and they've not seen around them. It needs to be true. The genuineness, authenticity of the experience counts here, right?
That's exactly what I feel. The teachers should now understand what the child is saying and not consider it as arguing back or not listening to me. But here, let the child voice his opinion. It's very important because that's what we are developing. We are developing problem solvers. We are developing adaptable children. So it's okay if the mother doesn't cook for them. So, I mean, these are the skills which will eventually make them successful in life. And we are curbing those skills there and there, that this is not right.
And so, okay, so this entire program, like I love this Harvard, by the way, Harvard Project Zero, I just loved it. I even loved your mindfulness thing, and I think amazing. Okay, so now, what is the feedback? Now, these children are obviously going to enter school, and after their preschool, they'll go in the main school. What is the change that teachers find in these students, or is there something that you all have documented or something like that?
So the change is very, very visible. So I was in Bangalore and I met few partners, and I happened to meet a principal of a school.
Okay.
And she came up to me and she said, you know what, you're doing an excellent job. So I was first confused in how does she know me, who I am, what I'm doing, what is an excellent job. And then she started saying, I can identify a EuroKid child who has enrolled in grade 1 into my school without even knowing that he's come from EuroKids. So I said, how's that possible? So she said, these children are confident, high in self-esteem. They want to talk. They want to discuss. They are not those shy type of children whom I see who have come from the other schools. So I'm super proud of enrolling all EuroKids in my school because I know they have very strong foundation built at the school. So that really made me feel, wow, I'm doing some job which is being recognized by people around.
Right.
So that was one example. But yeah, there are children who go to schools where the schools complain that they don't write. They are very good children, they can talk, they are confident, they have very high self-esteem, but they don't write. Because all these traditional schools that my children go into want the children to start writing from the beginning. So what I say is I teach them the skill of adapting. So they can adapt to any new environment, any new challenge that they come. And I think within 4 weeks is the time that these children merge into the system so well, and they start writing because by then they're also ready to write, which they are not ready to write when they are with us in preschool. So within 3 to 4 years is the time where these children blend beautifully into the system, and since their foundation is so very strong, they do much better than the other children, even when writing comes in.
Yeah, I think 3 to 4 weeks, you said.
Yeah, 3 to 4 weeks is where they settle in very, very well.
No, and it's important because I'll tell you what, adaptability. I have found that we actually, with me, I've seen that people don't have that ability to accept change. And you mentioned, what got you here won't get you there. That's actually a book by Marshall Goldsmith.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I was there at the book launch.
Oh, wow.
It got launched in India at, the World HRD Congress event, and I actually got an award that event. So I had gone there as an awardee, and it was actually the book launch and everything, and I was amazed with the book. I have it with me and stuff. So yeah, but that is what people don't understand, that continuous learning, continuous accepting of things around you and saying that, okay, let me see how this affects me. You can't keep resisting change.
Yes.
And when you resist change, I'll tell you, people who are in the typical setup, they go through education, they go through their, I have multiple clients who are in the 28 to 35 category, the years of age. They tell me that they've done what was expected from them. They've done their graduation, they've done their post-graduation, they've done a professional certification. Now they have been in the company for the last 4 to 5 years, 27, 28, 30, 32, 35. And they come to me confused. He says, now what? And I find that because they're not adaptable. They've not been able to learn more. It's like our learning got done. We supposed to learn. This is what was supposed to tell us. अभी CA हो गया, CS हो गया, MBA हो गया. अभी learn नहीं करना है. अब सिर्फ काम करना है. But that is not the mindset that is going to take you ahead.
So there is like learning is forever and change is constant. These are the two things which really you cannot forget this. You have to keep this as your Bible. And every curriculum change that we do 3 to 4 years, we learn, we first unlearn and then we learn, because that is the only thing that is going to take you to the next level. So that is something that you cannot say that learning is done. Learning is never done. So I'm telling you, with mindfulness coming in, the entire corporate office were taught on skills which will help them develop mindfulness. Now we are teaching them on tools which will help them become superior thinkers. So we're taking sessions with them on thinking routines and how they can use this in their life. So learning is the only thing that's going to remain with us.
What other qualities? So you've mentioned compassion, you mentioned problem solving, you mentioned adaptability,
resilience.
Resilience. Oh my God.
Yes.
The big R.
Yes.
Oh wow,
So that's something that we really focus on, so that's where the children will learn. So there are a lot of practices where they have to exhibit the skill, because that's something that's the need of the hour.
How do you encourage resilience in children?
So we did an entire curriculum on executive function skills.
Okay.
Now when I launched executive function skills a few years back, people said, no, these skills are needed for people who go on job. You don't need it in children. And then I went back and researched and I said that executive function skills can be developed in children when they're 6 months old. So that focused a lot on working memory, mental flexibility, inhibitory control, and we devised all the activities around them.
Okay.
That how is this going to help them to develop their mental flexibility?
I need to know. I'm a trainer. I am doing it for adults, but sometimes they are also so constrained. But a 6-month-old, I mean, for a child.
So we went down, broke those activities down and said, okay, inhibitory control is something which they have to not kind of immediately reflect or immediately be very impulsive. So that's where small things like taking turns, waiting for your turns. You're going to speak only when the mic reaches you. And we made a mic where the children were like kind of holding it and talking. So we gave them a lot of smaller activities, and believe me, we did see results. We did see more patient children, more calmer children, more thoughtful children, where they were waiting for others to finish till they listen, and definitely better listeners, because if they're waiting for you to finish, they're listening to you. So it did show in our, what my team does is, generally they say, acha curriculum launch ho gaya, your work is done. But the work starts there, because we go on to the field to see how did this curriculum impact our children. So we go taking feedback from them. We see the children in action in the classroom. And that's where we realize that this curriculum really made a lot of difference to the children. A child who behaved in a particular manner 3 months back is now behaving in a different manner. So he's become more mindful. He's become more aware of what is happening. He's become more resilient. He's become more flexible.
Which is required.
It's okay. He doesn't sit to cry that I didn't get a lollipop. So he starts looking for options which he can replace his lollipop with. So
I think that very famous marshmallow experiment which was done, I think it was Harvard, or I guess it was a private person. So they had that, the marshmallow, like you place one marshmallow, and if you don't eat it, you'll get one more. And so the children who actually waited and collected the maximum marshmallows over a 30-year period, they were followed, and they were the ones who were more successful.
That's where inhibitory control comes. So having that kind of a control that this is going to work for me is work. The willpower works.
And Jack Canfield came up with his formula for success. He said, this is the event, event plus your reaction is equal to the outcome. So if you have a positive reaction, it's a positive outcome. If you have a negative reaction, it's a negative outcome. That was also the basis of my saying you have to be earthquake proof.
Yes. Your outcome brings me to another thought process. Most of the schools focus a lot on outcome. What is the outcome of this that I am teaching? And they only focus on the final results. But we focus on the entire process, procedure, the journey, destination is important, but the journey and the experiences that go through the process are very, very important. So outcome is definitely important, but the entire journey, the entire process is more important.
I'll tell you something very interesting. I've shared this before in one of my podcasts. Something very interesting happened. So we were part of a emotional quotient training workshop in one of my companies where I was working. I was a participant, and I've never been a topper in my life, I've never been one of those people first, second, third. I've been more on the people who have 50%, 60%. My 10th, I got 80 for some reason. I still don't know how. Okay.
That's the pressure that the parents build.
Yeah, pressure of parents, society, you're just studying the whole day and whatever. So, I'm a more of a creative person. But that particular workshop, the trainer asked us, he said, how many of you, and there were like around 25 of us, have been toppers in school? So I kind of went back in my chair. I was fading away. I said, they shouldn't look at me because I know I've never been a topper all my life. And I looked around and there were people who were it was a very good crowd, very intellectual, very strong crowd. None of them were toppers. There were people around me who were heading departments, or people around me and they're very successful. Like people I really admire to this day. They brought a lot of change. None of them were toppers.
Let me tell you, successful people are the ones who are emotionally stronger. I had a best friend in the school where, waking up together, eating together, drinking together, tuitions together, studying together. She was very, very high on her IQ, not like me. And she was among those toppers that you spoke about.
Right.
But when I see today she is not successful. She is one small corner. She's sitting with being a housewife, doing nothing, no self-esteem of hers. And emotionally stable people like me have really reached somewhere.
Yeah.
So, as you said, those successful people were all emotionally stable.
Yeah, because that's what he said. He says, you know what? At the toppers, at the first hint of a failure, they have gone into a shell. And he said, it is your, people right now who have been resilient, who have fought back, who have adapted, who have transformed their own lives, their thinking, and they are still adapting. And that is why y'all are here.
Yeah.
And that
totally
blew
agree.
my mind. It blew my mind. I said, you know what? I'm a success. From looking at myself as a failure because of my academic prowess, and now I realize that, and believe me, I have achieved much more than I think what my school, the toppers ideally would have,
That shows how high you are at emotionally.
Yeah, that is something that I've always loved. And I've worked on it, consciously worked on it. So mindfulness starts from there, Okay, I want to know that these students, this is something which just came. These students are, they're so high. But like you mentioned, when they go into a traditional setup, and this is, they will have to adapt. But in Lighthouse Learning now, in what y'all are doing, is there an option for them to continue with this same kind of learning even ahead? Are there schools in India who are doing this kind of learning? I know there was a school called, I think one of the Somanis, I think they changed their curriculum. They went into this kind of, I forgot the name of it. It's a nice name. They did a tie-up with a particular company and they did that. So that has changed. There is a school in Chennai related to the Isha Foundation where they are also teaching things like that. So,
so we do have a connectivity for their education journey.
Okay.
So all the EuroKids children can easily take an admission to Euro schools. Like we have, as Lighthouse Learning, we have 3 brands which are the pre-K brands, that is EuroKids, Kangaroo Kids and Mother's Pet. And all these schools have a connective K to 12 school. So we have Euro School, we have Billabong High, we have Centrepoint School. We are also having brands like Pioneer Greens and Heritage, which are under our umbrella right now. So there is a lot of K to 12 options for these children, where we follow a very innovative curriculum for these children to get into learning with us.
Wow, so there is a connectivity.
Yes.
Anything for college level, or that's just the school level?
Currently we are just at grade 12. But yes, soon we will get into university.
No, it is.
But we do have
need of
university
the hour.
tie-ups with a lot of universities in
Right.
India and abroad where our children can go.
Yeah, because from the knowledge-based society, we have to come to an application-based society. I mean, problem solving will come from there. I was actually reading about it. Israel, they say, has come up with a completely new system of education. I was just reading about that. They said that they actually place real life problems in front of students and ask them for solutions. They ask them to make groups and come up with solutions, and this is something, and it seems that few of the solutions were so mind-blowing that they've actually got implemented in the country. So they keep coming up, and I thought that was an amazing, you're actually harnessing this young talent and those new designs and new thoughts coming out, and to harness this energy at a very young age is an amazing thing.
So what we do at EuroKids is, like you said, they put them a real life situation. We call it simulation, where they are going to be put into a real life situation where they have to think. So we work a lot on making discoverers and inquirers. So our entire curriculum is driven around inquiry based learning, and we want them to find out for themselves. So discovery is happening there. We also provide them experiential learning. So we put them into a situation and we tell them, okay, now find out for yourself. So we also are following a method where we want, discoverers to be born with us, and somebody who can really know that, okay, by inquiry I can find it for myself.
We are right now in an age where there are startups. It's a boom of the startups. And India is right now in that complete boom. For startups, you require ideas. For ideas, you require to be a discoverer. You require to have a problem and how to solve that problem. And if you go in the traditional setup, like I remember when I joined the job, the one thing people tell you, यहाँ पे तो ऐसा ही होता है. I think we are
also familiar with that, because change is something which everybody resists. That is one thing. Forget everybody, even you and me, for the first point of it will say, oh, really, we have to do this. And then when we start moving ahead, and then we realize that good we moved ahead and good we brought this change. Because there is something, Joe, that's what the book goes, but what got you here will not get you there. Because that's the thing that we need to change. We need to grow. We need to learn new things. We need to implement new things, and that's how we will be innovators. And the startups that we are going to be forming and our children are going to be forming is from that seed that we sow now.
Being conscious leaders. So I know even Israel and China, I know, are doing
even
it.
Finland.
Finland.
They have the Finnish curriculum which is talking about it. Even in Japan, they are doing things which are very different, where they are teaching them to wash their own utensils, serve them. So
correct.
So a lot of new age groups now are coming up with ideas where we can do some bit of skill development in children at that age. So
and I think not just studies, but I guess earlier I remember my schooling. We had I have learned first aid in school. I have learned we had home science, we had dramatics, we had fabric painting, we even had grooming sessions where we would learn grooming and whatever. And I know for a fact that couple of schools, people I know, the old schools, they said we were taught carpentry in school, we were taught electrical work, basic work. That is something I don't think is there right now. Is it there in the traditional setup?
Few schools do it. Few schools do it as their additional activities and programs that they do. So a lot of non-academic skills that are developed. EuroSchool does a lot of these. So we call it as extracurricular activities, where we do a lot of these skills which are going to be used for them. Because these are skills which are going to stay with them. So if you've learned something as a carpentry skill, you will be able to fix up your cupboard when you need it.
Obviously. So from a knowledge base, we have to now move to an application base. I think that's extremely important. And what about, when you think back on the traditional setup, you've come from there, you've experienced both. So you can actually, be the right person to, what are your views now of the traditional setup?
So I moved out from a traditional setup because I started feeling bored. So I felt how different it is that I'm doing something which I didn't do last year. So I said every year felt the same, the same speeches, the same parents coming in, the same curriculum that we are talking about. And I felt this is not where I want to be. I want to make a difference to the children's life. I want to reach out to more number of people. And that's where I moved on to EuroKids. And I think that really gives me the satisfaction that I moved on and I took this decision where I am reaching out to more number of people, more number of children, also providing them with a lot lot of innovative techniques that which a traditional school would not want to change. And parents are really happy seeing that, because that's the need of the hour. They
Correct.
want their children to be everywhere, good at everything.
Correct.
And that's the complete satisfaction that I get, that okay, I did justice and I've given back, and that's my contribution to the society.
You mentioned something very interesting when I spoke to you last. You said, the textbook in BCom, something
Yes,
you mentioned.
yes,
What was
yes.
like?
So my husband did BCom when he was in college, and my son took up BCom when he was in college, and the textbooks hadn't changed. So I was just thinking they would be, say, about a couple of generations apart, but he was learning the same thing. The environment changed, the need changed, the cultural differences changed. We're talking about technology and AI coming in, but the textbooks remained same. So that's something which really took me aback and said, no, somebody please bring in this change. We need to change. We need to change our textbooks. We need to change how the education system looks. We need to change how the examination system looks. I am doing my bit in the foundational years. I want somebody to pick up from there and take it for the higher grade.
No, I definitely have high expectations. I think, our education, Mrs. Smriti Irani, and, I think what she's been bringing to the table and stuff like that. I've been kind of following her, and I think quite a lot of policy changes are happening at that level. I think it'll take some time to come down, peter down, from the top. But I think change is now definitely in the air.
Yes, a lot of parents have also realized this. The so-called traditional parents who wanted children to only write and mug up get marks have now changed to, I want my child to be a better person, more confident person. So yes, change is happening, but slowly.
Okay, now if you see your journey, your journey from traditional now here, and obviously you've been more mindful and stuff, but what is the biggest takeaway that you have found in yourself, that, or something that you would advise people that this is the change that you all should incorporate in your life? So what was that?
So one thing as a big takeaway is never stop learning.
Okay.
So I kept studying. Like when I got married, I was just a graduate. So during my pregnancy with my children, did B.Ed, M.Ed, education management, MBA, PhD. So at one point my son came and told me, Mom, listen, before I graduate from school and college, you please graduate from your studies. So I've been a learner. So this one thing is always be a learner. Keep learning, keep evolving. When the AI came in, I was like, okay, one more new thing to learn. And I think that has evolved me as a person. That has evolved me as, made me more successful, because I have been changing according to the changing times. So I've never felt stagnant in my life. The minute you start feeling stagnant, you're gone.
Yeah,
so there's something that you need to evolve, you need to change, and that will be possible only when you are open to learning.
Wow.
So once a learner, always a learner.
And you know what all you're doing, it's like so amazing and so pioneering. What is the one legacy that you would like to leave behind in the world?
I would say innovation. Don't look back.
Okay.
Past is gone. Don't look ahead. Tomorrow is yet to come. Be in your present and enjoy every moment, and keep learning.
Wow, I think that's amazing. I'm so grateful that you took out the time and you've come for this podcast, because this is a very important message. It's not just for the kids, but for the parents, and also for would-be parents, also for other people. Choose consciousness. Choose to be a conscious leader. There is no age, there is no role. It's like everywhere. Once you are a conscious leader, this is going to solve the problems of the 21st century.
Keep asking yourself why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, see, ask, and
see, think, wonder.
See, think, wonder. Yeah, amazing.
Here I would say, think about why you're doing what you're doing.
Correct.
So you will get an answer that, okay, is it right to do what I'm doing?
Yeah. And when you ask yourself these questions, you are actually having more clarity about yourself and also your surroundings.
Yes.
And adaptability, like you said, is amazing. Resilience is the need of the hour. And also kind of understanding that, traditionally, you didn't get marks. People didn't get some admission somewhere. There's a huge world out there. That's not the end of the road. And I think that is something that's a huge takeaway.
Thank you so much.
I am extremely honored to have you here, Anita.
Same here, absolutely my pleasure.
All right, thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Subscribe to this podcast and also like this podcast and share it to as many people as you like. Be a part of the conscious leadership movement. You are just one step away from being a conscious leader yourself. Keep watching, keep evolving. Thank you.